One man will be £20,000 richer come Saturday night, as after 13 weeks of competition, it all comes down to this. 12 players, one prize to become the MODUS Super Series 2 champion. Welcome to Champions Week. Good morning and welcome to the MODUS Super Series. It's the week that you've all been waiting for, because after 12 weeks of competition, come Saturday night, we are going to crown our second MODUS Super Series champion. It was Conan Whitehead who picked up the spoils in October. Who is going to be the victor second time round? We're going to do it in the company of the asset, Paul Nicholson. And Paul, we have been looking forward to this for a long time now.
It's been a strange old 12 weeks, straddling Christmas and New Year. And I think a lot of the narrative today is going to be about the fact that John Henderson is in this group this morning and for the next 3 days. And he's been playing 6 days from the last 7, of course, because we had a well-deserved Sunday off. But then we've got Jim McEwen, who's coming from week 1. So we'll see what the form's like for the guys coming from all the way back then to the people who were playing last week.
Certainly an interesting dynamic. We'll talk about that a little bit more in just a second, but let's recap Henderson's victory on Saturday night by looking at the Week 12 Finals Night highlights. Fallon Sherrick, she got the better of Lee Budge and qualified through to the semi-finals. She saw some good stuff from the Queen of the Palace last week.
I thought she played really, really well. I think Budgeon will be very disappointed, but this guy just so determined to give it everything he had. Ultimately, too good for Richard North in what was a very, very edgy last qualifying game.
Then John Henderson in that game against Fallon Sherrick. Hendo just doing what he needed to do.
Just too good. He was in a really, really good place in his first 3 games of the night. I think Culleton, though, will just be loving the fact that he came through against Jared Cole, who was very, very fancied in that semi-final. He played superbly in qualifying, but ultimately the final, there you have it, Henderson-Culleton.
This was how Hendo won it.
52. Can Henderson hit the 112? He gets a dart at tops. And he's hit it! Henderson wins with a biggie!
And the winner of the MODUS Super
And he
Series
wins week 12 in the same sort of way that Chris Mason won week 12 in Super Series 1. Culleton is devastated, and he has every right to be, because he missed double 16 to win the whole thing, and the Highlander has done it.
That's a nice little image to end on, isn't it? John Henderson smiling, happy with the check.
John Henderson happy is a good thing for everybody on planet Earth, let's face it. But I don't think we should forget about Culleton. He had a shot at 152 to win that final, which went to the 7th leg. And the fact that he gave himself that chance with double 16 and just missed it, fine margins. And I spoke to Niall in the very early hours on Sunday, and I said titles of the greatest magnitude have been won and lost via 1 dart. He misses his shot, Henderson takes his out, that's darts.
And incidentally, we haven't got time to reflect on it too much more, but Jared Cole had a weekly average of 91.5 and didn't get through to Champions Week. Talking about Champions Week, these are the 12 runners and riders that are in contention of picking up the big prize come Saturday night / Sunday morning. We begin with Group A on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. The players for Group A have been selected based on best running averages throughout the weeks that they went on to claim success in. Raymond Smith actually finished top of that bracket. He had a 92.5 average for that week, which he won in week 7. Then we've got the likes of Justin Smith, Jim McEwen, Johnny Haynes, John Henderson and Colin Osborne. It's not a bad lineup. Yeah,
it's a tremendous Group A. And I think it has to be, when you come to a Champions Week, you've got to start with your strongest horses. And this is exactly what we've got here. People who have qualified weeks and weeks and weeks ago, people who have travelled over 10,000 miles to get here, people who haven't left here in the case of John Henderson. It's just a fabulous, fabulous narrative for the week. And as for who's going to win this week, I've got absolutely no idea. So you're going to have to stay with us to find out.
You may see the names Martin Adams and Scott Walters in Group C. They didn't win weeks, however, due to Graham Usher and Adam Warner winning PDC Tour Cars at Q-School earlier this month. The best 2 runners-up with a weekly running average were given an invitation to play this week. Walters with the number 1 spot, Adams coming in the number 2 spot. But if we're going to lose those 2 players to Tour Cars, they're not 2 bad players to have back.
Not at all. I think Walters in particular was really good in week 1. He was quite unfortunate actually not to get through. But I think if we think about the atmosphere that we had when Conan Whitehead won here in October, it was bouncing in this place. But if Scott Walters was to make the final night this week, this place would be absolutely rambunctious because he's very local to here. But as for who the 6 are going to be to get through, you know, Wolfie could be one of them. He's just had the ability to do great things at the right times. And I think we all have a soft spot for Martin, and I think we'd love to see him win this week, but it's entirely up to him.
Well, let's see what the bookmakers then make of the odds going into Champions League. Now, this is the Group A betting, and for me, the one thing that surprised me with the betting is where Justin Smith is placed.
Yeah, 7-1 is a very interesting one for me. I mean, even Johnny Haynes at 11-2, considering how strong he was in his week. Let's not forget that Colin Osborne and Johnny Haynes in the bottom 3 of that betting slide there, they both won Group A as well in their week, so they were dominant displays in their respective weeks. I think one of the reasons why people have gone for John Henderson is because he's had a day off finally yesterday. He'll be a little bit more rejuvenated, but the favourite being Raymond Smith is absolutely right. He is someone who can play this format and dominate, and that's exactly what he did in week number 7.
And interestingly, Justin Smith 18-1 to win the week. And there's some interesting odds when you actually look at the odds providers. There could be value to be had here because they just don't know how to prize them apart.
Yeah, if you are going to place a responsible bet this week, just have a look at the numbers and look at the form for the last few weeks, particularly since the new year, and you might get some information. And you might want to stay tuned to me and Edgar. We'll maybe be able to give you a tip or 2.
Should we get some darts underway?
That's why we're here.
Well, Raymond Smith and Johnny Haynes kicks off the Champions Week for us here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. And both players spoke to us early on this morning ahead of their campaigns. Raymond, welcome to Champions Week. How much are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I've got to say I'm super excited. I had a taste of this last time, and it's probably the perfect environment to play in. So when I got an opportunity to come back, I'm definitely chomping at the bit.
Of course, you're really impressive in that first outing, but obviously now Champions Week, I suppose it goes up another level, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got players back there that have done things on the world stage that I haven't done yet. You know, there's things that I've dreamt about that these guys have done. So yeah, I'm really going to have to step up and play at my next level game, and I just hope it's there.
Of course, you've had a lot of success at international level, but this, I suppose, would be up there with some of the bigger achievements of your career if you could be successful this week.
Yeah, it's an international tournament. To win an international tournament means quite a lot, and the players that I played against were class. I think a few of them got a tour card this year, and other guys have had tour cards. So yeah, it definitely meant a lot to win this.
And just finally, what sort of backing are you getting back home in Australia?
Yeah, probably a little bit of a mixed reaction. Like it's one of those unknown territories for us. So looking forward to the opportunity. Looking forward to put a lot of people in there. Let them know what Australian darts is all about, but also at the same time, open up doors for other Australians.
We wish you all the best this week, Raymond. Good luck.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Johnny, welcome to Champions Week. What's it like to be here?
Brilliant, mate. Looking forward to it now. It's a good bunch of lads in there, and they're all decent players. So it's going to be hard, but give it a go.
You said to me after you won week 11, this is big time. Does it feel like the big time?
Yeah, it do. Way big time for me. Yeah.
And what an opportunity is it for you this week? Because this is, I suppose, become a major event in amateur darts.
Yeah, as now, well, 20 grand's a lot of money. A lot of money for anyone, I think, now.
If you went on to be successful this week, would this be your biggest week in darts?
Yeah, it would be by miles. Yeah, a long way.
And of course, as it's Champions Week, a really tough Group A, but the way you played in the week you won, you must fancy your chances.
Yeah, I'm playing all right, so hopefully I'll be champion of champions.
We wish you all the very best this week. Johnny, good luck.
Cheers, Henry. Thanks a lot.
Here we go. We've waited since October the 22nd when Conan Whitehead picked up the prize to crown our second winner of Champions Week. We kick off with Raymond Smith up against Johnny Haynes. Charlie Corsafine is your referee here at Champions Week, and your commentary team for the next couple of days is primetime Matthew Edgar and the asset himself, Paul Nicholson. Morning, guys.
Good morning once again, Henry, and welcome everybody to Champions Week. It is Super Series 2 and the culmination of 12 weeks of qualifying. You have in your first game of the week the 58-year-old from Swindon, the man that myself and Matthew Edgar this week are going to call SM Punk, the Swindon-made punk, up against the man who's travelled all the way across the globe to be here, to be back here in a place where he won in week 7. The guru, Raymond Smith, the bookie's favourite.
First leg, it's Raymond to throw first. Game on.
Before we go any further, if you are choosing to have a gamble this week, please gamble responsibly. 18s plus and begambleaware.org. No matter where you're tuning in from, because I'm sure we have people tuning in from all over the world, including Australia,
100.
to watch the guru Raymond Smith. Good morning to Matthew Edgar. And is Raymond Smith your favourite as well?
Yeah. He has to be really, doesn't he, when you look at what he's achieved, and a big run at the World Championships a year ago really does stand out. And when he came here last time, best weekly running average,
140.
but also the style in which he did so. He was preparing at the point when he came here last time for the World Championships. So he stopped in here en route and
60.
blew the field away.
We already have a very different feel to the Champions Week to compare to Super Series 1, which was won by Conan Whitehead, like Henry mentioned.
131.
And the main difference of the 12 players coming through is that only one in Super Series 1 Champions Week had won Group A.
100. Raymond, you require 130.
We've got 3 Group A winners today alone. So that little streak has been quashed. Raymond starting very strong here, leaving 130 after 9 darts.
40.
Johnny said in his interview that great bunch of lads, all very good players, very, very accurate. He's looking to leave double 18.
100.
There was something else Johnny said in his interview,
Raymond, you
which we'll
require 90.
get to in the next leg. As Johnny Haynes fires in the first maximum of Champions Week. 180 is never too little. And is it too late?
75.
Had to be aggressive with
Johnny,
that last start to give it a
36.
try. Haynes wasn't really in the leg until the
Game shot
maximum,
the
and he
first
takes in
leg.
13 darts
Johnny
and breaks
Haynes.
the throw. That is what you call good timing. Has he got
Second
the
leg,
same
it's
dart
Johnny to
shirt
throw
on
first.
as Richard
Game
North
on.
from last week, but it's just a different colour?
Yes, well spotted. Richard North had that exact shirt, but in yellow. Now, Johnny Haynes
98.
said in his interview that winning this would be the biggest thing he's ever done. I thought that was interesting, because Johnny Haynes has done some things in his career. He's been a PDC
81.
tour card holder. He's played in the World Championship on both codes. That's the PDC. He played in the World Championships there in 2013 at the
60.
Alexandra Palace. He also played in Lakeside just this year gone. So it's not like we're talking about memories that was quite far in the past and they've kind of been forgotten about, so anything that's new is quite exciting. We're talking about just this exact year.
100.
He's played in the UK Open before as well, so we've seen him on our TV screens quite a few times in some of the biggest events in the world.
Do you think sometimes
60.
players' memories tend to be forgotten and they always label what they're doing right now as the best thing they've ever done? Do they sometimes get a bit carried away?
Yes.
100.
And that's why I had to reference that he played in the 2022 World Championship at Lakeside, because if that was 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 9 years ago,
100.
It's not, this wouldn't be the biggest thing in his life, it'd be the biggest thing in his rememberable life, so it becomes bigger. Where, because actually that was literally, what, 8, 9 months ago now? Just shows how important this is to players now.
This is what you're going to get from Raymond Smith. Mr. Consistency. It may not be his nickname, but it might as well be.
137.
Qualifying week averaging
80.
92. The reason for that is because you're constantly on a finish after 12 darts, no matter how big or small it is. Double top.
Game shot.
And there it is, the immediate break
Raymond
back
Smith.
from someone who I think, and I'm going to say it at this early juncture, I think he's going to win
Raymond
this.
to throw first. Game on.
And what was really interesting for me, Matt, in his interview with Henry, is that he said the support back home has been a mixed bag. Now, he is someone who prides himself on trying to move Australian darts forward, whether that's with the youngsters or even with his own family.
100.
But he is here on his own this week, I believe. And he hasn't missed a dart at a treble so far until now. I just wonder
100.
if we're going to get that 9-darter this week. I just think it's going to happen.
Say about moving things on with different people in his own family. It was actually him and his son Kai who
85.
both played in the World Championship in 2022. Not very often you see a father and son or any sort of family relations playing together at the World Championship. I remember Wes and Dale Newton did it, didn't they, many years ago? We've had the Rodriguez brothers.
Yeah, the West brothers have had their own success.
57.
The Monk father and son haven't played at the same World Championship, but they've had their own success. And one thing I will say at this early juncture, it's a big congratulations this morning to Chris Dobie, who
100.
attributed a lot of stuff in his interview last night when he won the Masters to the fact that he's not going to get shouted at by his dad Gordon anymore, who is one of the best amateur players out there, who have never been here yet.
100.
Yes, I just dangled the carrot because we are trying to get him here.
100. Raymond, you require 64.
Quality start to Champions Week. Exactly what we expect from these two.
Dart wasn't setting his fingers there. Had the presence of mind to stop. And again, he's on a doable out after 12 darts.
48. Johnny, you require 116.
Is it going to be a third consecutive break?
Could be. 16 and tops.
76.
And that is right on the
Raymond,
wire.
you require 16.
Fantastic effort there from Johnny Haynes. But you just feel with this group and these players, you're not going to get many repeat visits to the board. You get one chance. You take it or you lose the leg.
Fourth leg, it's Johnny to throw first.
One of the benefits of Champions Week as well, and I don't think we spoke about this in week 13 of Super Series 1, is that you've got no debutants.
100.
I know that's a really silly comment to make, but last week we had people who'd never played here before, and thinking about people like Lee Budgeon and John Henderson, even with all of his experience, in the first couple of days they weren't used to the 10-second gap between legs. So these guys already know about it, and they're going to be way more comfortable, and I think that translates to better form overall.
The other thing is,
100.
you'll notice as well from being a player yourself, when you have something in a venue that is a good memory, when you walk back into there, it brings you back to that moment. The last thing these guys remember is holding a giant novelty check with the smoke going up and it being a good moment.
The only people who don't have that are Scott Walters and Martin Adams.
81.
But we can't discount their chances this week. You will see Walters and Adams in Group C this week, which is on Thursday and Friday during the day. They will be joined by Matt Clark.
100.
As for Group B this week, Adam Mould, Alex Merkt, and Jamie Kelling. They will be involved in the evening sessions from 10 p.m. Thursday and Friday. Johnny Haynes is back in the maximum column for his second. And that maintains a very, very good standard here. Haynes averaging 102.
100. Johnny
Smith, 97.5. Double 10.
Game
He
shot
doesn't give Smith a chance.
Johnny Haynes.
This is an excellent game. Exactly what we expected to get out of the blocks on Monday morning.
Fifth leg, it's Raymond to throw first.
Might be a good time
Game
to
on.
pick your brain as well, actually, on this one, because you mentioned about darts developing over in Australia. Now, all I see from Australian darts at the moment is amazing talents coming out of that system. We've seen Simon Whitlock, Damon Heta,
131.
just to name a couple off the top of my head. What is it about darts in Australia that just keeps pumping out this talent that as soon as they come over, shoot straight to elite levels?
I think it's a mix of a couple of things. One, in the 1960s and 70s, there were a lot of people moving from Europe to Australia, and they were taking this sport with them, particularly the Brits. There's a lot of Scottish, Welsh, Irish, English people who took the game of darts with them, and they have opened up dart clubs in vast parts of the country. And then we can't ignore the work done by Dart Players Australia, which has allowed people to have the vehicle to shoot for things like the World Championship and the Grand Slam in the past. If you were to look at the list of people who have won the Grand Prix or the Order of Merit for the year for Dart Players Australia, it's a who's who. Kyle Anderson, Cadby, Whitlock, Brian Roach, Russell Stewart, all these kind of players are on that list.
98.
Raymond Smith's up there too. And as a result of what Simon Whitlock has done, particularly, he has inspired a lot of people.
Raymond, you require 112.
As a network, their sports channel is actually showing stuff live. So people are getting more inspired by the day. And this guy is looking to inspire them even more. Double 16.
96.
And he does inspire
Johnny,
people.
you require 141.
Suppose the World Cup win as well from Damon Heta and Simon Whitlock's going to add a bit of fuel to the fire.
Yeah,
Raymond, you
definitely hasn't done
require
any harm.
16.
Double 8 for Smith.
Game shot on
and
the
a 3-2 lead.
Raymond Smith.
He will expect to win Group A. Even with
sixth leg, it's Johnny to throw first. Game on.
This caliber of players, he will like the fact that he's going to be tested. He likes to be pushed. And there you see Johnny Haynes, the first time today, a little bit of a chalk rub on the barrels, which are a little bit old school in their nature. A bit more pristine here from Raymond Smith with natural tungsten
91.
barrel. White stems, white flights. That's his usual setup. And you're not going to get a great deal of equipment changes this week compared to what we saw
83.
from our good friend Niall Cullerton last week, who was constantly changing the colour of his barrels.
Do you think with Raymond Smith, there might be players this week that he's not fully aware
100.
of? And if there is, do you think maybe he's just left it as that? Is ignorance bliss, or would you want to know everything about your opponent?
I think ignorance is bliss. I think knowing that you're in Champions Week is enough
61.
to fire the adrenaline up to a level where you have to expect the same sort of brilliance from every player. I don't think Raymond will know much about Justin Smith. I don't think he'll know much about Johnny Haynes, quite frankly. He'll know a fair deal about Hendo, and he might not know a great deal about Jim McEwen, actually. But the beautiful thing about the internet these days, and particularly YouTube, you can do some research if you want to, just by typing their name in. Now, whether you're tuning in via Sporty Stuff TV this morning in the UK or via the MODUS Super Series YouTube channel, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us today at MSS Darts on Twitter and our other social channels. I'm sure we'll come up with a couple of topics for you to join us in over the next couple of days.
I think if there is going to be something that lets Johnny Haynes down this week in a Champions Week where the standards higher is that he's just done there in that last shot, where he stayed on the 20s and left himself the 162 rather than moving over to the 18s. That little bit of counting could be the little bit of percentage that separates him when we're talking with players that are of level standards.
I have to agree.
134.
Those mistakes can't be made against someone who will plot their way around the dartboard and not miss much. Double 10 to take us all the way.
Game shot on the sixth.
Well, he knows best.
Johnny Haynes.
3-3. One leg shootout for the first 2 points in Champions Week.
Seventh and final leg. It's Raymond to throw first. Game on.
We did see a breaker throw on the first leg of the contest.
60.
Can Johnny Haynes bookend this game? We did see somebody from Swindon last week as well in Josh McCarthy. He didn't qualify for Saturday night,
85.
but didn't disgrace himself at all. But you do tend to see a lot of people from Swindon donning red, because that is the football team's colour from Swindon.
100.
As for the Guru, I'm not sure you're going to see much in the way of strip changes this week. He tends to have one coloured dart shirt.
100.
We might see a few changes from Hendo. He's got a few different chemises in the bag.
You just got to chuck a bit of credit on the commitment here from Raymond Smith. I mean, to come all the way from Australia when you mentioned about the travelling and the distance, and when John Park, for example, was on the Pro Tour, the amount of commitment he made to be back and forth because he didn't relocate over here, and makes it interesting if Raymond Smith would ever consider that, because he was very close to a PDC Tour card just a year ago. He was one match away.
Well, let's face facts. He's made Champions Week this time.
100.
The producers here at the MODUS Super Series, I'm sure, would say to the Guru, would you like to play in Super Series 3?
Super Series 3 week 1, and they could stay for 2 weeks.
60.
And we could enjoy Raymond Smith for back-to-back
141.
weeks.
A very good idea. Now he's got to dodge a 1-2-1 from Haynes. See, this is where
60.
I'm really intrigued
Johnny
this week,
121.
because these confident players will fancy taking these shots out to steal points from fancied players.
97.
Can he
Ranger
take 81
require
for the first 2
81.
points then?
I think he has to.
It's got to be 2 double 18s. He's not going to do it.
33.
That may be
Johnny
the first time
required
I've ever
24.
seen Raymond Smith submit. Double 6.
Game,
and it's maybe
shots,
because
and the match.
he knew that Johnny Haynes
Haynes
was going to hit that. And the fact that he hit it third dart just makes it feel a little bit harder to take, maybe. But that was a really good contest to get us going. I get the feeling that will fire Raymond Smith up, though. The man who averaged over 92 when he was last here for the week. He does exactly the same here, but it doesn't get him over Johnny Haynes, who had a very good performance there in match number 1. When we come back, we'll see Justin Smith of Wales, the bearded dragon, up against Aussie, the wizard, Colin Osborne. That's match 2 coming up.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, and what a start we've had to Champions Week as Johnny Haynes got the better of Raymond Smith by 4 legs of 3 in a high-quality encounter. Both players averaging above 93 maximums in that match. So Champions Week off to a flying start. Next up for us, it's Justin Smith against Colin Osborne as they get their Champions Week campaigns underway. And earlier on this morning, we caught up with both players to assess their chances ahead of the week. Justin, welcome to Champions Week. How much are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I am buzzing. I've been waiting a long time for this, haven't I? You know, it's been, how many weeks? It's a good 3 months now. But yeah, I've been practicing hard, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
You played so well in your week as well to go on and get the title. How's the game been since you've won here?
It wasn't the best. I think Q School was not the best at all. I think I won 1 game out of 4. But the Challenge Tour wasn't too bad. It's averaging high 90s in a lot of it. So yeah, it's not too bad, the form. But I've been practicing again now, which I never usually do. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
How big an opportunity is it this week for yourself?
Yeah, it's massive, isn't it? Especially with 20 grand up for grabs. But yeah, it'll change my game, I think, if I come through this field, especially with the quality that there is. Yeah, yeah, it's going to be a good day.
We wish you all the best for the whole week, Justin. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Colin, welcome to Champions Week. How much are you looking forward to it?
I can't wait to get going, to be honest. You know, I won my group, I think it was the second week in November, and obviously it's just a waiting game for Champions Week, but it's here now, so I'm ready and really looking forward to it, yeah.
Because you're one of the early winners, is it almost like you're watching all the other weeks and you're just itching to get back for the Champions Week?
Yeah, you do as well, H. It's like you say, obviously it's finding out who's coming in the first 6 of the group, you know, and then coming in Group B and Group C. And you're watching all the time, you know what I mean? And then just obviously waiting for this day, which is today.
You've been in many big occasions before, but this, even for you, must feel like a big one.
Oh, yeah. You know, I mean, it's like people have said in the past, you know, the surroundings, the venue. Obviously, on the Saturday night, you get the crowd in. It's just a fantastic experience.
And for players outside the PDC Pro Tour setup in the amateur game, as many people like to call it, this is a major opportunity for everyone, isn't it, this Champions Week?
Oh, 100%. You know, it's like you say, with the setup, like you say, you've got the PDC, but now obviously with the Super Series, you know, the ADC and things. And the game's just gone from strength to strength, to be honest, you know. But it really is. It's a fantastic arena setup and everything is brilliant.
Colin, wish you all the best this week.
Thank you.
Game number 2 then. You've heard from Justin Smith and you've heard from the Wizard. So it's the Bearded Dragon against the Wizard. Only in darts could that happen. But here is the man from the Borough. Has resided in Derbyshire as well over the last couple of decades. But this man is from West Wales. It's a bit chilly out there. He could use a cardigan, but not when he's playing darts. Colin Osborne, 47 years of age, been around a long time. As you can see, has won 7 PDC ranking tournaments in his career as well.
It's Justin to throw first. Game on.
But it's all about becoming Super Series 2 champion this week. And in order to get that title,
140.
You've got to start your marathon here. Now, Johnny Haynes has started well. Can these guys get off to a very similar start?
Well,
60.
History has a habit of repeating itself. We saw the graphic on the screen that says Colin Osborne, the 7-time PDC winner. One of those
95.
was in 2009, an event you're probably very familiar with, the Champions League, which was a tournament played very similar to this, wasn't it? It was like a streamed event behind closed doors. I believe
60.
It was one of those sort of events where you got money per leg.
Yeah, £50 per leg won. And then when you got to later parts of the event, it was £100 a leg. And then on the final day, it was £200 a leg. But then you get a bonus for getting to the final or indeed winning the whole thing. I believe you got £10,000 for winning it.
41.
A couple of years after he won it, I made the final and got promptly dispatched by the Power.
60.
But Osborne beat the Power to take that title. That gives you a little bit of an indication as to how much of a big hitter he was back then. But as far as the MODUS Super Series is concerned, he is a big hitter.
147.
I'm sure I remember watching an interview, and I think it might have been Phil
45.
Taylor. who says, like, where the practice room, there was like a corridor that goes down to where the venue was played, and he used to call that the corridor of cash.
That sounds about right. Yeah, it was an incline, a little ramp up towards the playing arena, which was covered in blue curtains. We've got black curtains here.
Game shot.
And we've also got a 1-0 lead for Justin Smith, who's playing very fast-paced darts. He is incredibly watchable, this young man.
Second leg, it's Colin.
If you don't know a great deal about him, we do, because he's been playing with us since the start of the pandemic. From home, he was playing from Wales.
100.
He played with us in Southampton. He had a degree of success in Southampton, but unfortunately he was not able to play on the finals night that he had qualified for because he had issues in Wales. But this is a great week to try and make up for that against a man who has weekly titles in the bank.
96.
Both in Southampton and in Portsmouth.
And yesterday on our day off, as we do, we was looking
100.
through the numbers and the odds. And when we looked at the odds, and we saw that Justin Smith was the biggest outsider to win this week, we went, what? And they put that graphic up on upstairs, and same there, you and Henry look, and you go, 18-1, Justin Smith. That's
145.
That's crazy. But I wonder how much of that comes down to what he said in his interview,
59.
where he says
Colin,
it didn't really happen for him
160.
at Q School this year.
Yeah, we'll dig into that in a second. Osborne, after a bit of a throw rebuild
60.
over the last few years, is starting to really swim in a pool of confidence all of a sudden. He's on 100 after 12, and you really must be in that range
100.
a lot this week.
Colin, you require 100.
On a 2 darter after 12, give yourself the chance of the 14 or 15 darter. And that's where you'll make your money this week. Double 10.
80.
Outside
Justin,
chance
you require 145.
of the J variety, because we've got 2 Smiths here. We've got so many Smiths in the world of darts.
105.
Michael,
Colin,
the
you
world
require
champion.
20.
Ross Smith, the European champion. Raymond Smith, Justin Smith, Jeff Smith.
Game shot on the second leg. Colin Osborne.
And we do have a 1-1 scoreline here. Been a really interesting weekend of darts. Not just Chris Dobie winning the Masters in Milton Keynes, but also many congratulations to Eileen de Graaf in winning the Dutch Open, beating Bo Greaves in the final.
93.
And huge congratulations to Barry van Peer, who won the Dutch Open men's title. An astonishing achievement, beating Andy Bartons of Belgium in the final.
180.
Champions being crowned everywhere you look. But all eyes this week are solely here.
100.
We've also completed the lineup for the Seniors World Darts Championship. We saw the draw for that last night, and my, are there some tasty draws. Kevin Painter, Ronnie Baxter, Terry Jenkins, Chris Mason, Mark
60.
Dudbridge, Glenn Durant, Colin McGarry, Phil Taylor. The power could be in trouble there.
180.
Colin Osborne could be in trouble because Justin Smith is finding his range on that treble 20. He could be the maximum hitter this week.
123.
We saw a lot from Lee Budgeon last week.
128.
25 of them, I believe. But it's double 10.
108. Colin, you require 138.
Getting the feeling that this game is just a little bit quicker than the first one.
Double 9. He liked the lie. He stayed there. Gave himself the opportunity, and both players
20.
miss. Big tumblers out. The advantage of throw means that Justin Smith will get first poke to return back. He splits a
16.
lot. Remember covering
Colin, you
his week.
require 18.
He does like a split.
In that spot, I'm not sure about it.
Game shot on the
He
third
is
leg.
robbing himself
Colin
of a chance
Osborne.
at a double. And ultimately, he does pay the price with Osborne breaking the throw.
Fourth leg, it's Colin to throw first. Game on.
I'm going to ask you a very blunt question now, Matt, about that draw for the World Seniors Championship, which is next week. Starts next Thursday.
60.
And we've got quite a few MODUS Super Series talents pitting their wits for that marvellous trophy. Does Phil Taylor lose to Colin McGarry?
100.
Because that is an awful draw for the power.
I make McGarry favourite, but on the same aspect,
140.
Phil Taylor's Phil Taylor. And the Phil Taylor factor will always exist for me. And Phil Taylor could go and win this.
59.
But on the same aspect, I don't think he's shown the signs of actually being anything like the Phil Taylor win. And if that's the case, how much does that get to him? But he's had a year, hasn't he, on the Seniors Tour now. He's getting closer.
85.
He's getting better as it goes. He could win the title, but it's tricky.
What's your game of the
100.
first round then? Because Terry Jenkins versus Chris Mason sounds pretty good. Usually Chris is sitting in one of these chairs calling Champions Week for you. But he's, I'm sure, at home right now, getting ready for
100.
the World Seniors and wondering who's going to be lifting the £20,000 cheque at the end of the week. Well, if we are keeping you company, Mace,
100.
we hope you're well and we
Colin,
wish you all the very best next week.
If we're looking for a game for a collective average where it's the best number, I'd probably say David Cameron, Richie Howson.
Double 18.
Game shot.
Osborne's here to play.
Colin Osborne.
He's withstood the barrage from Justin Smith early and taken full advantage of a missed data double in leg number 3.
Game on.
And he looks like he's ready for this week. He's waited quite a bit of time for it. He won week 4. Which
59.
was, in fact, the week after Justin Smith won. So they've had this little gap between getting here and actually playing here for the big check.
45.
How do you grade their form, Matt, since winning?
Justin Smith has let us know what his form was.
140.
It was poor. 1 game won at Q School. Much better on the Challenge Tour, which was last weekend. But Colin Osborne, you mentioned that he had that throw rebuild. It was breaking
100.
down towards the end of his professional career. I remember one of his last appearances was in the UK Open in 2013 on the big main stage. He actually lost
92.
that game. It was to someone very near you right now. And I remember in that period that he just wasn't bringing the arm back. It came back a bit and then locked, and it was all push and it was all force and like flicky. And you can see now he's getting
55.
good sort of movement in the arm. It was almost a bit dartitis-y, wasn't it, during that period?
Yeah, he lost the back lift.
100.
Or the drawback aspect of his throw. And you can see the dart is firmly coming towards his left eye here. Whereas before,
100.
when he was
Justin,
having problems, the dart was not
110.
coming back. It was all push.
The best visual... I get a visual of a 110 finish here.
92.
The best visual I can give you to picture what we're saying is imagine a catapult, like a Bart Simpson catapult. And if you don't pull it back and let it go, you don't get that ping, so you've got no natural force. So if you don't pull it back, what you've got to do is you've got to flick the catapult you're holding
18.
rather than getting it to do the movement for you.
Yeah, that's right. Don't think he was happy with the single.
Game shot on the
He
fifth
should be,
leg.
because
Justin
it led to a
Smith.
leg-winning double. Is Justin Smith a glasses half
Sixth leg, it's
empty
Colin
kind
to
of
throw
guy?
first.
Does he need to
Game
be
on.
more positive this week?
I love watching Justin Smith play. Even when they was just having their practice stats, we were sat here.
100.
And I said to you, didn't I? I said, watch Justin Smith here, because he is one of the most distracted people in life. He's standing at the back of the stage, he's looking here, looking there, looking there.
100.
I've never known anybody scan a room in 3 seconds like Justin Smith can.
Whereas you will get a really big amount of patience from Colin.
140.
He's always shown that in his career. One of my commentary
92.
colleagues on another network would say that Justin Smith cuts his beard with a laser. That is some sharp, sharp work on the old beard there. And you've already mentioned that with a nickname like the Bearded Dragon, it's not as if he can have a shave now. But he doesn't want to, does he?
No, told me he'll never be without beard.
Colin, you require 126.
Justin, when you hit your mid-30s, if anything like myself, you'll start going grey and you'll start reconsidering it.
Didn't go 19s because he didn't have to.
52.
Didn't have to. Simple as that. If you don't have to, plot your own route. But troubleless, and by that I mean big troubleless,
100.
means that this 74 is just a bit
Colin,
more
you require 74.
difficult than maybe it should have been. Single 20 and tops, which is his chosen double
game
in most games and most scenarios.
Colin Osborne.
And that's a really good clinical start for Colin, who does just jump over Johnny Haynes for the time being in the table on leg difference. Leg difference may come into it at some point, maybe not at these early junctures. Everybody averaging over 90 so far, and that is a really good start for Osborne, who was 67% on his doubles as well. A great level of play so far. But now we go to an all-Scottish battle between Jim McEwen, and it's another good morning to John Henderson when we come back after the break.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where Colin Osborne has got his Champions Week campaign off to the perfect start. A 4-2 success against Raymond Smith and another high-quality encounter. Every player so far today has averaged above 90 in their opening matches. A 116 for Osborne was what changed the tide in that one. So victory for the Middlesbrough man in his opening game. Next up for us is the battle between Jim McEwen and John Henderson. These two Scots, it's quite hard to prize apart when you look at the averages in terms of their weekly qualification, and also in the weekly darts Oracle stats forecast. So a big battle on the offing here, and earlier on this morning we caught up with both players. Jim, welcome to Champions Week. How much are you looking forward to it?
Very much. It's been a long time since I was here, but 3 months now. Looking forward to it, Henry.
You won week 1, so it's been a long time waiting for you. So has it been a case of, I know you've been playing competitions elsewhere, just trying to keep your arm and knowing that this opportunity's been here?
Yeah, well, we've had Q School Challenge Tours. I've just done the seniors at the weekend. Struggling lately, but looking forward to this. Hope it brings my game back on.
So does that big occasion bring a fire in your belly? Because we've seen you here play really well in the big weeks.
I mean, you look at John last week, struggled through the week and turned it on the Saturday. I think that's what I'd done as well the first week when I won it. So it doesn't matter how you get through, as long as you get there.
You won the Champion of Champions, which was our last major event in Southampton. How much would winning a biggie here mean to you?
Oh, much more than that. I mean, for the money alone, it's for the likes of me, it's a bit of a life changer, that kind of money. Yeah.
We wish you all the best this week, Jim. Good luck.
Thanks, Emmett. Yeah.
Top man. John, welcome to Champions Week. Looking forward to it?
I am, yes. I must admit, at the start of last week, I wasn't expecting to be here the way I was playing, but my games came on, so no, looking forward to it. It's going to be it's a hard field once again, so no, looking forward to another week of that.
1 week 12, does that help you to a certain extent because you've played, or would you have liked maybe a couple of days to have rested?
It's weird. Obviously, I've came for the Challenge Tour and had a week's darts, so my arm still. I shouldn't have needed much practice. That I probably would. Everybody's coming in fresh, so. But no, we'll see at the end of the day whether it's going to be a good thing or no. But no, I'm practicing well. I'm feeling actually a lot fresher this Monday than I did last Monday. So let's hopefully it goes my way today. But no, looking forward to it.
And this really would be a nice way to start 2023 after everything that's happened over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, so getting over the disappointment of losing the card and then not getting it at Q School, it was, but we've got so much opportunities now, and I can't be thankful to the MODUS for giving me this opportunity. Had a good week start, the Challenge Tour. That'll take care of itself through the course of the year. But no, I'm looking forward to the year ahead. It's going to be hard, but that's where we want to be to try and get back to my tour card.
Wish you all the best this week, Joel. Good luck.
Cheers, Henry. Cheers, Bill.
Fascinating to hear from the two Scots before they do battle in game number 3. And they will bring an end to round number 1 of our fixtures here on Monday morning in Group A of Champions Week. As for Jim McEwen, yes, it has been quite the wait since late October when he qualified in week number 1. But the 55-year-old has been active over the last few weeks, like the 49-year-old from Huntly, who was here on Saturday. Jim McEwen was trying to qualify for the World Seniors. It didn't happen for him, but it happened for Hendo. Will it be a very different week for Jim as he tries to plot his way to Saturday night once again?
You mentioned that John Henderson started slowly. John saying he didn't know if he'd be here because he started slowly. Now, there's one thing he didn't start slowly with.
First leg, it's Jim to throw first. Game on.
That was the opening game of the day. The opening game of the day was Hendo time.
One thing's for sure as well. From that interview, I
60.
cannot forget about the fact that he said, I feel fresher today than I did last week. He didn't have any MODUS Super Series experience this time last week. He didn't really know what to expect. By the end of Saturday, I think he was almost dead on his feet. He'd put in a monstrous effort of playing 27 matches throughout the course of the week.
140.
The experience now that he has fresh in his mind, we can't ignore the fact that he's a big, big threat.
134.
He's the second favourite, and if I was going to oppose Raymond Smith as someone who could potentially beat him and take the title, I'd probably say it's John Henderson. I think it's down to
41.
the 2. And a bit of a snatch there from Jim McEwen. He mentioned that he hasn't been feeling very confident, and Jim McEwen comes across as someone who relies on the sort of recent form and confidence.
59.
I was surprised that he went to that seniors and come away from that seniors with such a lack of confidence, because actually he wasn't bad at the Challenge Tour. He said it didn't go well for him, but He won a lot of games. He ran over an 86 average.
123.
Including one game where he was nearly at 100 in beating one of the winners of that and now the topper of the Challenge Tour, Thibaut Tricol.
60. Jim, you require 137.
Could be first blood Chucky. That's why you see that somewhat horrific looking movie character all over his shirt. That's his nickname. 67, so he'll go for treble 10 here.
77.
He, like quite a few players in this group, is a tops merchant. Hendo's a bit like that. Osborne's a bit like that.
139. Jim, you require
He is under
60.
pressure here, going for this two-darter. Well, there's tops. Unexpected. Double 5. Going round the houses in leg 1.
50.
And a chance for John to
John
break.
required 54.
In the same vein that we saw from Johnny Haynes in match 1. He broke in leg 1.
Game
So
shot
does
the first
Hendo.
leg. John Henderson.
And I will say one thing at the very early portion of Group A. I know he was struggling a little bit with tiredness.
Second leg, it's
coming
John
straight
to
from
throw
the Challenge
first.
Tour this time
Game
last
on.
week. But in the first 3 or 4 days of last week, he really wasn't on double top. By the end of the week, it was his saving grace.
60.
Well, you mentioned he sort of practiced it for periods of time, didn't you, in the practice room, just trying to fix that because you need that confidence in your secret weapon, and tops is that for him. Confidence. Interesting word, actually, because we can look
55.
at Jim McEwen, who had no confidence when you listen to him in his interview, and I think some of that comes from this past weekend where he tried to get himself in that Seniors World Darts Championship that starts next week.
140.
He didn't really perform. A couple of 70 averages, won 1 match out of the 4. And he was trying to get himself into that Seniors World Championship, which would have been a second World Championship for him. He did play in the WDF World Championship this past year. 101 average on that Lakeside stage on his opening game. He had a run through to the quarterfinals. Lost out to Neil Duff in the end.
180.
Yeah, that's a game he shouldn't have lost. I think the mere mention of that game will make him turn on his heel and walk out the room. He was 3-0 up, lost 4-3, and then Duff went on to win the title.
29.
But Neil Duff isn't
John, you
here.
require 121.
He lost out in a final to Johnny Haynes in week 11.
43.
We have had maximums from either player here in this leg. That means that every player has hit at least 1 maximum in their opening match today. You might think
100.
that's pretty
John,
normal.
you require 78.
But compared to some of the qualifying weeks, that's a distinct improvement out of the blocks straight away, these guys. And
Game
Hendo
shot on the second
is
leg.
definitely
John Henderson.
sharp for a Monday morning with a 2-0 lead.
You say out of the blocks, but that
Third
was what
leg,
we
it's
alluded
Jim
to
to
at the
throw
very, very
first.
start.
Game on.
Every single day, John Henderson started well. It wasn't that. That wasn't the problem for John Henderson. The problem was the stamina and the ability to see out a whole day of action. That's what I think is going to improve across the course of this week.
180.
I think Charlie Costafine's voice box is going to be tested over the course of the next 6 days.
99.
Does a great job, does Charlie, as do all of our referees. Was he a week ago, actually, we had a debutant, Justin Bradshaw, taking part. Great to have him on board. And to
81.
everybody in the production squad and to all of the support staff, including the commentators and all of the people helping on Saturday night in finals nights as well.
58.
Done an incredible job over the last 3 months, straddling Christmas and New Year as well. It's a team effort to try and give these players the best vehicle to support their lives and their success and their
140.
dreams and ambitions going forward, whatever they may be, because some players, this is just what they want to do. They want to win here. But Hendo was using this as a vehicle to try and get back to the PDC Tour.
100.
He's doing a fine job of it.
The same thing that Josh Payne said last year, and he used that very successfully. McEwen looking to use tops successfully for a tops-tops combination.
60.
His first leg
John
of Champions Week.
164.
This would be for a 344 and 6. One of the biggest 6-star conversions possible. Very close.
132.
Playing
Jimmy
really well.
Mackay, 40.
Averaging high 90s here. McEwen has already missed tops for this leg. He's hit tops twice in this match.
20.
And has not got a leg.
John Urakai, 32.
I think that's just a sign of the confidence that Jim McEwen's come in at the moment. When you miss that double and it's a big sigh, you know, the blows are landing. He's playing
John
well.
Henderson.
And I just think that maybe he's looking for something a bit much at the moment. It's like he's trying to find something. He's trying to hit a level of performance, because I don't see what he's saying. I don't see, other than this past weekend where he had a bit of a ropey one.
95.
But what's one weekend? A weekend doesn't define a season. A weekend doesn't define a year.
Oh, come on, Matt. You know that dart players are very hard to please. Some of them are really lovable and really positive.
140.
And they give you nothing but good times when they're interviewed. But some of them are just so downhearted when they really shouldn't be.
81.
Now, I love Jim to bits, but maybe sometimes he's just got to believe in himself a bit more, because we all know just how good he is.
Well, the first time I ever came across the name Jim McEwen, I was very ignorant. I didn't know who he was at the time. And was at the Pro Tour, and he drew on Ryan Searle. And Ryan went off to play him, and he came back, he puffed his cheeks out, and went, oh, that was 6'5". And I'm like, 6'5"? And he goes, yeah, it went really close. He goes, what a player he is.
85.
And I always just kept my eye on him after that, and he was quite often in the mid to high 90s, especially when he plays on the Pro Tour. It really brings the very, very best out in Jim McEwen, and you wonder if we're going to see that in Champions Week, but maybe not on Hendo
23.
time.
Maybe not, because so far in this portion of the game, he's veering to his right into that one segment way too many times. And Hendo is not going to let you off.
You can see it in the hand. The hand's like flicking out to the side. He's just holding on to it a little bit too much.
And trying to correct it with the follow through by hooking his hand to the left. It's all about timing.
It's hard to play at Hendo o'clock, especially when you've got the man breathing down your neck.
Hendo o'clock.
John, you require
That's not
100.
the easiest thing to say. He didn't like that first start. It's almost as if he was going to say, "Ach, no!" I had to get one of them in. I know there's going to be a lot of people tuning in from Scotland today to see how these guys get on.
100.
And a chance for Hendo to have a great first game. The ideal first game. And it is.
And the match,
wonderfully done.
John Henderson.
A very good average. The best that we've seen so far today in what's been an incredibly strong morning for all 6 players. But Jim McEwen has to settle for 0 legs. And I reiterate, he didn't get anything in the way of checkouts, but he hit 2 double tops in that game without registering a leg. 96.97 and 67% on the doubles. If John Henderson's confidence wasn't swelling after Saturday night, it will be now. We go into round 2 when we get back, and Justin Smith of Wales will take on Johnny Haynes in match 4.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where the first round of fixtures for Monday at Champions Week have been completed, and completed with a comprehensive victory for John Henderson against Jim McEwen by 4-0, the highest average of Champions Week so far, 96.97. 4 maximum shared 2 apiece in that match, but it was 4 out of 6 on the outer ring, which is the reason why the Highlander was the victor in our third game. So we begin our second round of fixtures for the first day of Champions Week. It sees Justin Smith take on Johnny Haynes. Haynes, who got the better of Raymond Smith in a last leg decider in the opening game of the day. Justin Smith looking for his first win of the day after losing out to Colin Osborne in his opener. So who's going to win game 4 of our day? Let's find out with Paul and Matt.
Thanks, H, as Colin Osborne called you earlier, and that one's going to stick. But making it stick is a very good thing in this game, and so far we have a pattern from round 1, and that pattern is as follows. In the game of darts, having the throw in leg 1 and the odd-numbered legs, it's supposed to be an advantage.
First leg, it's Johnny to throw first. Game on.
So far today, Matt, every game against the darts. Can you make any head nor tails with that?
No, I'll leave that one for you. Hopefully you can figure that one out, because I haven't got a clue. But I might have figured something out here. You called Henry H. I think we could go one further. I think his new nickname should be HD.
HD.
100.
Because right now, you're going to see him every week, virtually, at the Super Series in HD.
There's a lot of people out there in the world of darts who are really struggling to get a decent nickname. And we may have just come up with a really, really decent one for our presenter.
60.
HD and HD. So there you have it. Johnny Haynes was very useful in his first game. And you have to admit, we know that the standard of players coming into Champions Week was always going to be very good. But ultimately, when they're back here, they have to prove it.
58.
Only one player averaged under 90 in that first round of matches, and that was Jim McEwen. Haynes was excellent, 93.81.
174.
And there we have our first 174. That's what we like to call a Dundas in our sport.
78. Johnny required 145.
He might just, in this confident mood, take some stopping.
And I feel that the pace of this game is going to suit both. A quick player likes to play a quick player. And they've both just got a good rhythm, good pace, quick walk and approach. Because that's another thing, it's the walk and approach 95. Speed as well, rather than
Johnny
just people say how slow Justin Pipe
was.
was. But the fact he got to the board and moved so quick out the way, it actually felt quite a normal pace.
There's a bit like Michael Barnard as well. He was glacial when it came to throwing the darts. But the retrieval in the walk back.
49.
Honestly,
Justin, you require 110.
It was like Linford Christie. Treble 18 for double. Missed this in his first game.
Game
but
shot
doesn't miss it the second time round.
Justin Smith.
And gets the immediate break in 18 darts in leg 1.
Second leg, it's Justin to throw first. Game on.
Such a strong part of the country for darts is Cardigan. You go anywhere in South Wales or a little bit further west, and you can pick a world-class dart player in almost every town. Gerwyn Price, Johnny Clayton, Jamie Lewis. They're everywhere. World Masters. World Champions.
57.
Champion of Champions. This kind of thing. They're just everywhere in South Wales.
134.
It's not just the male game, it's the female game as well.
Yeah, really good country developing with many world champions as well now over the previous years. But and this is where my poor geography comes in as well. Justin Smith, last time he was here, played Nick Kenny. And another fine Welshman, got his tour card back recently.
140.
And we're talking about head-to-head stats, and I went, oh, these two must have played each other loads of times in local events and Super League. And I think it was Robert Owen who messaged in, that Matt, you realise it's about an hour and a half away from. I didn't realise how big Wales was.
Yeah, it's a little bit bigger than Luxembourg.
100. Justin, you require 150.
It's a hot start from Justin Smith, but can he maintain it? He does not hang around. He's a very watchable
82.
player. Haynes will go for the bull here. And one dart at tops for the immediate break back.
Game shot on the second leg.
Breaks a throw today. Oh, just plentiful. That old saying is as such.
Third leg,
it's not
Johnny
a break unless you hold in the next leg.
Game on.
And Justin Smith could not do that. I don't know about you, Matt, but I used to hate playing players who used to use so much chalk on their darts. Keith Della, Phil Taylor used to do it a little bit, not too much. Johnny Haynes, you can see how much chalk he puts on his darts. But we've had a really interesting question from Mark Marlowe on Twitter this morning talking about players putting their hand in their pocket before they play. And he's referencing things like chalk, wax, anything that improves the grip of the fingers on the dart. He says he's struggling. Do you have anything to say on that?
I don't have anything that I'd specifically use, to be honest. I've always tried to stay away from extras. I like to keep it as simple as possible.
81.
That's down to the fact I'm quite a forgetful guy, though, and I know if I rely on something, I'll probably forget it. I've turned up for practice sessions without darts before, so trying to remember extra things on top of that, I don't think would be good for me. So I like to keep it very natural. Sometimes I think players are putting their hand in the pocket for a bit of warmth, though, as well, rather than for grip purposes.
Yeah, that might actually be the case here. It's very, very playable out there, but there are a lot of players who like to keep their hand very, very warm.
49. Johnny, you require 58.
Could potentially enhance your grip. There is something that Simon Whitlock uses, like a residue that turns quite gummy in your fingers.
38.
Almost hit the double 15, which would have taken Johnny back to 58.
$60. Johnny, you required 20.
Here he's coming back to double 10.
Game shot on the
double
third
10 he
leg.
takes, and after losing
Johnny
the first
Haynes.
leg, it's a great recovery. Johnny has had a tour card in the past, and he has been to the PDC World Championship.
Game on.
Justin Smith, with all of his talent, has yet to grace the PDC Pro Tour.
140.
Just needed a minute there to compose myself before I asked you this question, actually.
I'm intrigued.
So, when we were talking about grip, I was going to say, is there anything in golf you would use? And then I was going to say, or are you one of these that would wear a glove? But when I was about to do it, it reminded me of a joke from a comedian, Lee Evans, when he talks about golfing and gloves
100.
and grip of it. And yeah, it just made me chuckle. But is there anything in golf? Because a lot of the times we can get like transitions, can't we? Things that work in one sport and then
45.
That might be good for darts.
Yeah, it's a really good point, actually, because a lot of golfers use a glove on their
100
non-dominant hand. So I'm right-handed at golf, so I use a glove on my left hand, which is at the top of the grip. And then the bottom hand tends to go underneath, and it's like a support hand. There is one guy on the tour called Aaron Rye who uses two gloves.
61.
And there was a guy called Tommy Gainey on the PGA Tour who used to use two gloves. And his nickname was Tommy Two Gloves.
97.
But there's also a product in golf that could be used in darts by, I think it's a company called Gorilla, where you can actually dab something on your grips or your hand
100.
and it makes your hand really sticky.
Justin, you require
it's a really
64.
good product, actually. Other products will be available, by the way. Double 16.
Game shot on the fourth leg.
And this is a very sticky situation for both players because now we're down to best of three. I'm loving the standard of play so far
Fifth leg,
today.
it's Johnny to throw first. Game on.
As for my possibility of predicting who's going to win Group A, it's so
100.
cloudy. I'm not even going to take off if I was a plane because I've got to... Well, I'm swimming in the soup of doubt again, Matt.
140.
Yeah, you don't want to start placing that order and end up with a bowl of sick, do you? So, yeah, just continuing this conversation briefly about grip. I've always found it, personally, an odd thing to want to really grip the dart, because the idea is to release and throw it. So to have a product
60.
to keep in your hand seemed a bit counterproductive for me.
Yeah, I can totally understand. The only time I've ever used anything to enhance grip was at the last World Cup I played at the iSport Halle in Frankfurt.
121.
And the main reason I used it there was because it was so cold. I just got the feeling that the darts were slipping too much. So I used a little bit of Simon Whitlock's residue, and it really helped. Not enough. Haynes is looking to leave tops here.
60.
No such joy. Smith not out of the leg. If he can find 2 trebles on the recovery.
125. Johnny, you require 80.
Double 10. That's a bad dart.
Game shot on the 5th leg. Johnny Haynes.
We're seeing a lot of legs so far today in that 5-visit range. And that little nod from Justin there,
Justin to throw first. Game on.
I think is symptomatic of just how good this group is. You're not going to get much chances.
100.
Well, much in the way of chances throughout the course of the week. And if you are going to make your way through Group A, you're going to have to be the best of the bunch. Only the top placed player will get Thursday and Friday off. Otherwise, you're playing Thursday and Friday in a quest for Saturday.
As you've sort of half-teed it up and then jumped straight onto the fence again.
140.
I think there's a good other twist that we can put on this. So if you're not going to tell me who wins the group, what do you think is going to be taken to win the group in terms of a running average
100.
over the 3 days?
$91.
I was going 90.5. So we'll say 90.75.
Yeah, there's been some really good performances so far today, but I think throughout the course of the 15 games that they'll have over 3 days, there will be some drops in performance, maybe the odd scratchy game. But overall, I think the standard will be slightly higher than last week. And I think somewhere around that 90 to 91 mark is absolutely spot on.
85.
This will be spot on for Haynes.
Johnny, you require
he could double
81.
his points tally with an 81 checkout. He's decided to burn a dart so we can have 1 clean at tops.
61. Justin, you require
Smith,
36.
who took out double 18 on a 110 checkout earlier, needs it again.
Game
That's
shot
a brilliant dart, considering
Justin Smith.
he was set for that shot, decided he wasn't comfortable, and this is how fast he thinks. Matthew Edgar referenced this earlier when he was looking around the room.
Game on.
What he did was, he realised he was in the wrong spot on the oche, and he adjusted himself and threw the dart in a matter of 2 seconds.
100.
And traditionally, if Justin Smith had 2 darts in his hand there, he would have split that double 9. They're shots that he doesn't want to go for, and he will avoid at all costs. However, just to give you a bit of a pattern, if Justin Smith is to win this leg, all 4 matches would have been won by the man throwing second.
When Stephen Bunting won the Lakeside Championship almost 10 years ago,
135.
His game plan was to split everything. When he was left on 18, he would go 288. If he was left on something similar to that, he would always choose the split option. When Zach Johnson won the Masters at Augusta, he laid it on every par 5. He took the water out of play. You wonder if you're going to see the same from Justin Smith, who has brilliantly left himself on 98 after 9, but he might not get a look at it. But now he will. To turn the tables on Johnny Haynes.
Justin, you require 98.
Is he splitting this? He doesn't know. But he is going to stick to his plan. And he's got the wrong double.
Johnny, you require 86. Again.
Might be a double split in a leg.
Bullseye to nick it.
50.
Well, he's left himself on double 18.
Justin, you require
a slightly
18.
weird ending to this game, but it is the split. And it's another wrong double. Oh, the overcorrection on the under-delivered dart at double 16 earlier And he overshoots it to bust the score. Can Haynes nick it with dart 3?
No score.
Oh, boy, this is a dramatic game.
Been a quality encounter.
Justin, you require
just see what the
18.
points mean to both players. Big point of the day.
He's going to stick to it. And he does put it right.
And the match.
Boy,
Justin
his heart rate
Smith.
would have been really high over the last 60 seconds. Haynes did have his chance. 3 dots at double 18 to take the 2 points in that one. But it does maintain what's happened in round 1. Everybody who doesn't have the darts, they're winning the games. A good standard. 89.8 for Justin Smith. A slight decrease in what he did in his defeat to Colin Osborne, but he won't care. 40% on the doubles is enough. And that game was all about the misses at the end, as Justin just steals it at the very end of that match. Match 5 will take us to the 1/3 point, and this one's a belter. Henderson against Raymond Smith. Anything could happen in this game.
This is the MODUS Super Series. $180.
Conan Whitehead was the man who sealed success at the first Champions Week here at the MODUS Super Series in October. Over the next 6 days, we're going to find out who's going to be the second player to have their name etched on the Wall of Honour here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. The 5th game of Day 1 at Champions Week sees John Henderson take on Raymond Smith, and in the commentary box, Matthew Edgar and Paul Nicholson.
Thanks, H. John Henderson now up against Raymond Smith. on a very, very good quality Monday morning. Here is the 43-year-old from Brisbane, one of the flag bearers for the Australian game, up against the man who raised the flag for Scotland in the World Cup around 18 months ago. Was that really 18 months ago? In Jena, Germany. Doesn't seem that long ago. Raymond didn't get a win in his first game, but he has had 3 games to try and hone his skills. And now he's up against
first leg, it's John to throw first.
The man from Huntley.
Game on.
And if you haven't seen the video yet, I believe it went on Facebook, it might even be available on YouTube, go and watch it. When John Henderson returned home,
24.
He had an unannounced, what could only be described as an open-top bus parade lined up for him. They literally lined the streets, didn't they, with applause as he drove into his hometown. It's a proper hero's welcome.
140.
I don't remember ever seeing a sign for it, but if they ever need a mayor in Huntley, they might as well just say, here you go, John.
62.
There's no point having an election if he's around. Let's face it, nobody would mess with John either. What a great idea that is. John Henderson for PM. Anyway, we don't do politics at the MODUS Super Series.
64.
We do darts. Just imagine what this win this week could do for Henderson in his quest to return to the tour next year.
97.
Raymond Smith has so far not been a tour card holder, but he's been awfully close. But what do you see in the near future for him? Because the relocation thing that some Aussies have done. I came back from Australia for darts. Damon Hetter's relocated. Kyle Anderson did it. Simon Whitlock has
100.
Settled in this part of the country. But some players come here, experiment with it, but it's not for them. It's a really big sacrifice.
Sacrifice, what a great word there, because that's what it
60.
is. I remember, got on really well with Kyle Anderson. And I remember many conversations, and at times it was horrible to hear, you know, how it made them feel. And Danny Baggish, the same, not quite as far as Australia, but from America.
180.
And he's done the same thing. He's actually gone back now to America, and he's going to concentrate on the more localised tours so he can come over for the big ones.
Gigi Mathers from Australia, who came here as a tour card holder
John, you required
for a couple of years,
38.
but ultimately went home just before Christmas. We miss him. We really do. But ultimately, family and climate win
19.
the day over darts.
Raymond, you required 92.
Hope you're enjoying the summer over there, Gigi. Watching Raymond Smith play here. Raymond's going for treble 16. He is quite traditional
44. John,
in the
you required
respect
19.
of shots like that. He didn't go double-double.
He did this in the first game as well. He just threw away a dart.
Game shot on the first
And then
leg.
that happened to him as
John
well.
Henderson.
They just mopped it up. That's a different route for the 19.
I love that one. Because you completely eliminate
Second leg, it's Raymond to throw
the
first.
bad dart bust. Single 11 for double 4 is never used enough, in my opinion, when you split 19s.
And you've got to say as well, what a great
60.
recovery that was from John Henderson. Let me just remind you of the first 6 starts of this match and the first 6 starts of this leg. John Henderson went 21, single 3.
140.
Single 1, single 1. In the first 5 darts that John Henderson thrown in that leg, he'd scored 26 points.
140.
It's not over till it's over.
It's not how you start a leg.
I know there are going to be plenty of people watching on our MODUS Super Series YouTube channel from around the world and on Sporty Stuff TV today. And they may be tuning into the social media for our sport, which is buzzing right now, not just for this year, but for the recently announced Premier League lineup in the PDC. And we will chew a little bit of that fat throughout the day. If you have any thoughts on that, or thoughts on who you think will win
Raymond,
Group A this week, please get in touch with us at MSS Darts. Quite a lot of people may have gone
60.
for 2 treble 18s on that switch there. Because when you leave 144, you can get a 54, another one, and leave double 18. But Raymond was quite adamant he was staying on the 20s there. As for Hendo, just taking a moment.
32. Raymond, you require 104.
For a level game. That might be a happy accident, especially for a player who likes double 16.
72.
I like the way he put that, Matt, because he does like double 16. Maybe more than anybody else in this group. But it's only a happy accident if you get the second treble, isn't it?
83. Raymond, you require 32.
It allows you to stay on those 20s, stay on that target, in order to leave this double 16.
Game shot on the second leg.
He's not bad on double 8
Raymond
either.
Smith.
And that's the trick, isn't it? When you have a favourite double, you have to be good at the breakdown double
Third
as
leg,
well.
it's John to throw
So
first.
tops,
Game on.
you got to be good at 10s. 16s, you got to be good at 8s. But one of the reasons why people who are good at 16s are good at 8s as well is because the shot is very similar.
140.
Same sort of height, same sort of target area for your eye, whereas double 10 is very different to tops.
100.
Come on then, I've got to get your opinion. What do you think about the Premier League 8? Because it has changed in the last 24 hours, I'm sure.
I'm glad they put the
100.
Masters winner in, which was Chris Dobie. Because for me, if they didn't, what a waste of time the last 3 weeks have been. Because the Premier League lineup used to be announced after the World Championship. They moved it to after the Masters. If you don't put the Masters winner in, then what's the point?
I think the burning question on everybody's lips this morning. Why is Luke Humphries not in?
45.
I have no idea. For me, Luke Humphries was... every time I did a prediction, I was Luke Humphries and the top 4. I was certain.
100.
No, I'm certain that's a 180. Maybe there are no certainties in darts, apart from 180s when they're hit. Very competitive third leg of the contest,
Raymond, you
which sees
require
Raymond
81.
maybe taking the lead. Well, that's 72 again, and he's not going to go double-double, which I think is the right call this time.
41.
With John on 131, but that's 3 times today I've seen Raymond quite upset with an approach play shot. He might be more upset if this goes in. Oh boy, it's open goal!
91. Raymond, you require 40. Game shot on
Yeah,
the
the
third
131
leg.
is one of them sort
Raymond
of shots
Smith.
that you mention, and different sort of combination shots rely different
Fourth leg, it's
levels
Raymond to
of
throw first.
accuracy. It's not
Game
just in
on.
the numbers. A shot like 131 means you need 2 trebles and a double, or 2 doubles and a treble. Where other shots, you might be able to get away with having the dart where you miss like a 127, for example. You can miss one dart, go treble, and still go dart the ball. A 132, you got the big section in the middle where you can get a 25 or a ball.
33.
Much bigger target to keep the second dart active, even though it's 1 point higher than the 131.
Yeah, I think that's a very common thought between top-level dart players that 132 is easier than 131.
121.
Vein.
Yeah, I'd much rather have... I'd rather have 133 than 131. Because treble 19, 2 double 19s. Because that way everything is compacted, but that's just my personal opinion. Now, I do have an opinion about the Premier League 8 as well.
60.
I think they've picked Johnny Clayton based on the fact that he won the Premier League 2 years ago. I think they've picked Nathan Aspinall because he's made 2 major finals in the last 6 months. I think they've picked
90.
Dimitri van den Berg because he's won 2 television titles in the World Series in Copenhagen and making the semi-finals of the World Championship definitely helped. And Chris Dobie winning the Masters and making the quarterfinals. That's why they've been selected.
83.
But this was always going to be an absolute nightmare for the PDC. and the omissions of Ross Smith and Luke Humphreys and Rob Cross and others, honestly,